In 2010, there was a study that came out that sort of interested me. And I briefly mentioned it earlier this year in an article I wrote. It said that 30% of healthcare in the United States, 30% of our healthcare spending was waste. Half of it, the argument went, was having to do with higher prices in the United States and more administrative bureaucracy. But it was just under half. The vast majority of it, they said, was just unnecessary care. And that seemed really high to me, the idea that there was that much that was just unnecessary. But then there was a recent study done by one of my colleagues at Harvard Medical School, a guy named Mike McWilliams and his team, and they looked at Medicare patients, about 1 million Medicare patients. And what they wanted to know was whether they had received what they called low-value care. So they had 26 tests and procedures that they wanted to see whether these folks in a year got any of these tests and procedures. And when you really looked in the details, you realized it wasn't low-value tests and procedures. They were no-value tests and procedures. These were things that had good evidence, and professional societies and scientific societies had already issued guidelines indicating that these either provided no benefit or actually were harmful to people. And so examples of those included getting an EEG for a headache. So a headache is not a seizure, and an EEG is for detecting seizures, and it doesn't help in diagnosing headaches. Getting a CT scan or an MRI scan for your back pain when you don't have neurological signs of problems going along the nerves that come from the spine. So actually this summer, 2 different organizations, one is ProPublica and there's another organization, has put out the individual results, including on me, you can look it up, for your complication rates from particular kinds of procedures and rankings of where you stand. And what I'd say about it is a couple of things. I've been a strong advocate for the idea that, our data about how we do should be transparent, and that we don't have as much to fear as we think. I wrote several years ago about the world of cystic fibrosis that has been gathering data for children who children who have the diagnosis of cystic fibrosis. It is a terminal condition, and in the 1960s when they first started measuring, kids only lived 6 years. By the 1990s and year 2000, the treatments had gotten so good people were living to, on average, 37 years. But the fascinating thing was that there was a bell curve, a wide curve, and some places had survival rates that were far higher, around 50 years of age. The median was 34, but the top places were at 47 years of age, so a 13-year survival difference, and others were in the low 20s for how well children did. And they did not make that information public. And there was a huge debate within the organization, and they decided that they would publicize which places are which. And the world did not end. Parents found out where the care could be, and some did make the switch. But mostly, the transparency led lots of people to discover from one another what really great places were doing and what they could do differently. And the whole curve has moved upward. The whole curve has shifted upward in really significant ways. And I do think it's important to put this information out.